Hi, everyone. My name is Brendan Woodruff. I'm class of 2009. I was a history major with minors in geology and government. So I liked old stuff, as I like to say. I'm currently the Director of Sustainability at the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, and I'm based out of Albany, New York.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Brendan. We will have Caitlin go next.
Hi, I'm Caitlyn Fagan. I graduated in 2016. I majored in English and minored in education. And now I'm a high school English teacher and I am our English department chair at my school as well.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Let's have Faith.
Hi, my name is Faith. I'm a current student at Skidmore. I'm currently a senior, a double major in dance and economics with a minor in honors forum. Outside of admissions, I also work in the dance costume department. I'm also a dance ambassador. I've been an economics assistant for macro classes outside of work and school. I'm also the chair of traditions, which is part of our student government association. I get to plan a lot of big parties and events on campus. Right now, I get to plan senior week, which is really exciting because I'm a senior, so I get to decide what I want to have happen. And then I've also done a lot of my own independent studies as well as independent research in the dance department. And I had one more thing and I'm forgetting it. Oh, I've done a lot of Skidmore funded summer internships if people want to hear about that. And I'm from Connecticut.
Awesome. Thank you, Faith. And last but not least, Liz.
Hi everyone, my name's Liz. I'm also a current student. I'm a junior. I am an education studies and history double major. I am from here in Saratoga Springs. And outside of academics, I am a head guide in admissions. I do all the hiring and training for our new guides. And then I'm also on the leader team for our peer health education program. I teach the one credit class that students take, the mentor section of it that students will take before they become a peer health educator, all things health and wellness around campus. And I'm currently observing slash student teaching in a first grade classroom.
Thank you all so much for those introductions. So for the first 30 minutes, I kind of just want to ask questions to our panelists. The first one being at Skidmore, we truly believe that creative thought matters, our motto. It really does inform everything we do here, and it's a huge distinction of Skidmore and who we are as an institution. We created this series to help prospective students and their families understand this difference. So my question for you all is, how did Creative Thought Matters influence your experience at Skidmore or your current experience at Skidmore? And how did it influence and prepare you for what you're currently doing? Does anyone want to start us off?
I can go first.
Yeah, go for it, Caitlin.
So I majored in English, and minored in education. So I think for me, creativity was an option through the way our professors assessed our classes. I'm not saying there weren't tests, there definitely were at certain points, but whenever there was an appropriate opportunity, we had the opportunity to show our knowledge or skills in ways with fewer limitations. So essays, there weren't always specific prompts. We had a lot of projects, and along those lines, we would share our work as well. So through that, we would be able to experience not only our own creativity, but the creativity of others in the class as well. So that was really helpful. And now I think creative thought is more important to me now, than it even was in college in my work. I think it's hugely beneficial, as a teacher to be able to be creative. And how I am creative in my work is in my curriculum development, how I can engage my students with relevant material, and still teach them skills, and content without being the teacher that stands in front of the room. That's not always the best way to engage an audience. It's certainly necessary at some points, but it's not always the best method of delivery. So engaging students in inquiry and things like that is beneficial. And then I apply that same method of open-ended assessments whenever I can to engage students in their creativity as well, to be able to show how they have mastered certain skills or the content. And then in my role as a department chair, creative thought is hugely important in how I solve problems. There's a direct relationship between problem solving and creative thinking. And in my experience, principals, bosses, people in leadership roles really appreciate it when other leaders or teacher leaders can be creative and come up with solutions to solve problems. So anything from things like scheduling, course development, curriculum alignment, even differences in opinions, things like that. It plays a huge role in my work every day.
Thanks so much for that, Caitlin. I was an English major at Skidmore too. Forgot to mention I'm also an alum, so we can chat about that after. Faith, I saw you wanted to jump in.
Yeah, I was going to talk a little bit about what I'm doing as a senior right now. Um, right now in my economics, I'm in the senior seminar in economics, and I'm writing my own thesis, which I will see what my results are of my econometric. I can't speak tonight. And hopefully be able to look into student publications. But I've chosen to research the gender wage gap in collegiate dance departments comparative to music, theater, and art departments. And I feel like when I first got to Skidmore, or earlier on, professors were really excited that I was a double major in dance and econ because they haven't had a lot of those. And they're like, oh, you should combine that for your thesis. And I was like, no, I don't want to. That's too expected. But I feel like as I've taken more and more classes in both of my majors, it's been really exciting to see those connections. I took economics, sports economics last year, which has probably been one of my favorite classes here at Skidmore. And it really got me thinking about how these theories could be taken into the performing arts. And I've really carved out a niche for myself that can make me really marketable for grad schools when I eventually apply, or even for dance master schools, all of that great stuff. And then in dance, creative thought matters. I am choreographing my own piece for my senior, we call it senior coda in dance. And I love choreographing dances. I love making art with bodies. And we had a class that kind of took you through the history of dance. And one of the people we learned about was Loie Fuller, who used these giant wings of fabric to create this illusion, and people loved it. It was back in like late 1800s, so they thought she was like a goddess. And so I've actually created a piece where my dancers are covered in three giant parachutes. Um, so I feel like my experience at Skidmore is really like combine anything you want, and you can pull any string from a class and make it into a tapestry of your own thoughts.
Yeah, Faith. I mean, I really just think you are the epitome of a Skidmore student, just doing all the things. I love it. Liz, did you want to?
Yeah, I guess kind of building off of that and what Caitlin said as well, I think that as I'm reflecting, just as they're sharing, like there is a lot of creativity in the classroom, especially honestly in like the course catalog and what you're able to take at Skidmore. In particular, right now I'm taking American Studies class all about the 1960s. It's not anything about, the late 1900s. It's just the 1960s. And I think that having that freedom to, my professor was, he was 10 in the 1960s and growing up in that decade. So we have a lot of firsthand knowledge from him, but also just like he's able to create a whole class about the 1960s. And there's another one in that department about girlhood right now. And so all these fun niche topics that I feel like really are able to take off and students are able to take a very diverse course load and explore different pathways. I also think that students are able to use their creative voice in everyday, jobs or in group projects. I've seen a lot of it in my leadership activities. I'm currently on the planning committee for the Out of the Darkness Walk, which is for suicide prevention. And I'm the main student on the committee, so I'm able to kind of think, I don't know, I think it's thinking creatively to inform the director of the counseling center and this external director on what students would respond to, and using my everyday experiences as evidence for the marketing that we're using, which is also super cool. Nothing that I would go into with marketing or anything, but it's been interesting to plan these events and push them out to the public.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. And Brendan.
Yeah, and I've got to say, I'm really jealous for all the folks on the line listening, because listening to this has made me want to go back to Skidmore again. After school, you don't get to experience all these cool things and put them together. But in reality, I think the Creative Thought Matters ethos really kind of turned me into what I'm doing now. So I went into Skidmore thinking I was going to be a teacher. That's the family business for us. I come from a family of social studies teachers. It kind of is in the blood. But there were a couple courses I took, including one with Professor Bob Turner, Environmental Policy and Politics, which really got me going down the environmental path. I also was a member of the environmental action clubs who are doing things on campus and in the community, and it really kind of changed my trajectory. And that wouldn't have happened if I went to a school where I wasn't able to take courses in different things and really experience what I did both in the classroom and in student life. And really develop the passion for environmental advocacy and environmental work that I did there. And at the same time, I was a history major, but I also was able to take classes in stage lighting design, right? So we were the people who, would light up the dance courses and other things. So I really appreciated the ability to go out and take all these different courses, have all these different experiences. In my job now, I think it has really allowed me to excel and get to the place where I am. I think all of us have experienced bureaucracies. They can be kind of stuffy. We know that things don't always work the way they want to, but the creative problem solving skills that I learned at Skidmore have really helped me to not just sit there and say, okay, that's a problem. Well, that's a problem. No, I've been taught to train to think in a certain way where we go around the problem, where we find new ways, where we know that we have agency to make a difference and that that's an imperative. So, bringing that voice in that thinking pattern to a large organization has really allowed us to really accelerate the work we're doing, because we don't look at problems as problems. We look at them as challenges that we are going to solve.
Awesome. I love that so much. Thank you all so much for your answers. So the admissions team gets a lot of questions about how Skidmore prepares their students for those strong outcomes after life at Skidmore. So what kinds of tools did Skidmore equip you with, or are currently equipping you with, Faith and Liz, that have allowed you to be successful, either in your life after college or preparing you for life after college?
I can talk a little bit about the Career Development Center. It deserves the biggest shout out in the world. We have I don't know, just the most amazing people working in there that are very helpful in, building your first resume or updating a scrappy resume from high school. I know I went in there my sophomore year and I was like, I know this looks bad. Don't tell me that, but just let me know what I can change. And they also can help you set up job interviews or mock job interviews if you want to practice. Um, I went to Career Jam the last semester where I got to network with folks, either alum or parents of students, which was really helpful. I mean, the education world is small, so it was nice to see some representation there and be able to, network with some local schools, which was very helpful. And also, I'm just thinking like, in the classroom as well. Faith, you mentioned being an economics coach. I'm taking microeconomics right now, and I'm not good at it. And so I go to economics, peer academic coaching, which has helped me get, succeed in my class so that I don't have a bad grade on my transcript. So I also just want to shout out that there's a lot to do with the students throughout their academic career that helps them stay on track and succeed, which we all know is, you want a glowing transcript, and all these academic coaching opportunities help as well throughout the 4 years that you're here.
Yeah, and I will put another little nudge in for the Career Development Center. Our next Creative Thought Works session in April is kind of focusing on internships and postgrad opportunities. So wink, wink, nudge, nudge to kind of check that one out too. Anyone want to go next?
I can go next.
Yeah,
I think Skidmore really equipped me with really strong reading and writing skills, which sounds super not exciting. But I think those are probably two of the most important skills for anyone to have, regardless of what career path you're going into. No matter what you're going to do, you need to be able to read and write critically and analytically, because the way that you consume information is so important, and the information that you produce is so important, as well. And I was on the writing team. I don't know if anyone on here is potentially interested in the writing team or taking lessons. I truly cannot say enough good things about that. It truly changed my life. The coaches there, and the program is so amazing. And from being a part of that team, some of the biggest skills, I guess, that I took away from that, are perseverance, overcoming challenges, not giving up when things are difficult. And for me as a teacher, having those wonderful women as coaches, they were great role models in how to sort of, as a teacher, get people to, we call it like the zone of proximal development. Really, as a teacher, it's something where you're right at the cusp of, it's something that's really difficult for you, but you can still do it. And they truly were masters at that. That was so phenomenal, so amazing. And the teamwork component was great, and confidence. They instill so much confidence, in students as well. So even though I think, they're not teachers in a classroom, I think there are so many other, like you're saying, in the career center, there are so many other role models who demonstrate so many other wonderful skills that we can take away from Skidmore too.
absolutely.
I can talk a little more about being at Skidmore again.
Yeah.
I think something that um, at least I've had the experience of, I'm not sure if it goes for other departments, and I feel like it's not talked a lot about, is how much my individual departments are helping me helping assist me to move forward into post-grad life. I mean, even before being a senior, they were always sending out um, internship opportunities for economics. And then something that's especially helpful in the dance world, they were sending out workshops and internships, but also any scholarships that were available. Money is tight in the art world, and so it's great to like have people doing the work for you of like these are reputable scholarships you can apply for. And some of them are like Skidmore alum, and it's really great to connect to them. And then as a senior, for my econ senior seminar class, we took a break from the class from writing one day, and a grad school came in, talked to us about their school, but also about the benefits of going to grad school, why it might look different than you thought. And it was really interesting, really helpful. They also like waived the fee for our application, and I wasn't planning on, I actually didn't apply, but I was planning on applying to grad school later in life, but just like having that opportunity right there for me was great. And I know a bunch of other students were able to take it. I'm also, they're just I've used the Career Development Center a lot. Early on this year, a lot of the jobs I were applying for happened in the fall. And so I was at the CDC like every week tailoring my resume, looking at my cover letter and all of that great stuff. And I'm leaning a bit more dance as of this week. I flip-flop every week, every day. Should I do dance? Should I do econ? How can I do both? But I've come up with a list of opportunities, ideas I have, and I just talked to my professor today and I was like, can I meet with you and talk through them all? Like your experience, what's going to be good for me, like what's achievable, because to me, taking a dive into the art world sounds so much scarier than getting a nice, hopefully cushy econ business job. And so I think both of my professors, my advisors are great resources to help talk me through that and help me find something that I'm going to be financially stable and happy doing. I think they love that part of their job, at least in my experience. They love teaching, but they also love being an advisor to the students.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point. And Brendan.
Yeah, and Caitlyn and Faith took my first two. So I've got another one in the can here. But I think really communication skills was one of the biggest things I got out of Skidmore. I'm in a field that's more technical now. I can learn the technical skills as I go, but being able to communicate that means that our ideas can go further. And it means that you just do a better job overall. And that's something that Skidmore really prepared me for. And the Career Development Center, I can't say enough good things about. They were super helpful to me as well. So were the professors. I actually have another Skidmore alum who works in my office. And whenever I hire, we send out stuff to, I still have professors that I talk to, and they send stuff out to students for us and everything. So that kind of alumni network, in the networking you're able to do is super helpful. But one of the other things that I think Skidmore really prepared me for was I'm originally from a small town in upstate New York, and that's a town where you don't hear a lot of diverse voices from people around the world and from different viewpoints. And that is one thing that Skidmore really helped me with, was to broaden my horizons, and to learn how to take all of that different kind of feedback and our worldviews and everything and really put that together into something that can work for everyone. And that's something that you can't get everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. I think these are all such great points. So I have one more question that I want to ask each of you. And since our theme today is Pathways to Skidmore, I'd love to hear what each of your path was to Skidmore. How did you get to Skidmore? How'd you find us? And what made you want to stay?
I can start.
Yeah, go for it.
Sorry, Caitlin. Um, I have two older siblings. I started going to college tours probably when I was 9 years old. So I always had college on the mind, which probably wasn't the healthiest at some points. But my sister toured Skidmore, my brother toured Skidmore, and it just came time for me to tour Skidmore. I had very specific requirements. I knew I wanted to do dance and something business-like. I thought econ sounded like a lot of math, and I hated math. Turns out I kind of dig it. Um, and there's not a lot of colleges. I also wanted to stay in the East Coast, New England area. If I could go north for more snow, I would have loved that, which I did. We've just had some global warming the past 2 years. So that narrowed down my search a lot. And I already knew about Skidmore. I loved touring, but I also think something that really led me directly into like vibing with Skidmore, excuse my jargon, was I did IB in high school. I'm not sure if others of you have that. And the International Baccalaureate, I was probably the third year it was at my high school. I really loved that. I felt like it helped me transition into college, especially college like Skidmore, which is fairly academically rigorous, really easily. In high school, we would write an essay a week, and I'm not doing that in college, but it makes it so much easier when I have my 10,000 word essay to do that. I know I can take it in chunks. If I write an essay a week, I can do this essay that's due over the course of 4 months. And I think that creative learning in IB really translated well into me finding Skidmore. And when I saw that Creative Thought Matters slogan, I was like, that's everything that I love in high school. Like that's what makes me enjoy learning, is when I was like able to choose, oh, like what you have to do a project in history and you can do it on anything you want. and you get to find your little niche, and that's what I love.
Awesome. I'd like to go next.
I can go.
Yeah, go for it.
So like I mentioned, I grew up in Saratoga. A little disclaimer, my dad does work at Skidmore, so Skidmore has been in my blood, since the day I was born, pretty much. And that definitely helped me finding Skidmore, but it wasn't the only reason. I didn't come here, as a cop out, and it would not have been a cop out either way. But I knew that I wanted a smaller school. I mean, I've grown up on Skidmore's campus and I've always been surrounded by such a lovely community with the people that my dad worked with. And my mom was also an alum, so she went through the process as well. She's still friends with her college friends, and I grew up with one of her college friends' daughter. And so having that community that I knew I was going to get an extension of if I came here, was definitely something that really solidified Skidmore as being the place that I'm meant to be. I thought that I would be riding on the coattails of my dad, but honestly, I've made my own mark in the world, and I've made my own community, and that's been something that has kept me here. I truly cherish all the relationships that I've made here. And so coming in knowing that, and knowing that I would, meet really cool professors and have these lifelong friendships is definitely something that I was excited to get involved with, and it has not let me down at all.
I love that. And we're so happy that you're here. Brendan or Caitlyn? Yeah, Brendan.
Yeah, sure. So again, I said I'm from upstate New York originally, and the Saratoga area is beautiful. And to steal a term from Faith there, I really vibed with the campus as well. The creative thought matters ethos, again, goes through everything. So it really was just a perfect fit, especially having smaller classes, being able to get to know your professors and everything. That's what I really liked about it.
Awesome. Great. And Caitlyn?
My pathway to Skidmore was a little bit less traditional. I didn't actually start at Skidmore as a freshman. I transferred at the beginning of my junior year. So like Brendan, I grew up in a small town in upstate New York too. So I'm not super far from Saratoga, but I was familiar with Saratoga. It's a beautiful city. There's so much to do, so many awesome places to eat and visit. I've always loved it there. I was really attracted to the smaller class sizes. And I loved the idea of a liberal arts education. I liked the opportunities that offered. And like Brendan, I think he mentioned that he grew up in a small town with not a lot of diversity. I had the same experience, and I really wanted to hear other voices and sort of be in a more diverse environment. And Skidmore definitely offers that. I initially did not apply to Skidmore because I was afraid of the price tag, truly. And that was in hindsight, that's one of the biggest regrets of my life, because I ended up getting wonderful financial aid from Skidmore that really made getting a high quality education a lot more affordable than I anticipated. I also locally, I was familiar with the riding team. And I knew that I wanted to be on the riding team. I used to watch their riders at horse shows with awe and wonder. And it was a lifelong dream of mine to just be able to be a part of that. So my path was a little bit delayed. But like Brendan, when I got there, it clicked right away. It just felt like home. The campus is beautiful. But I eventually, when I got there, it was perfect.
Awesome. Caitlyn, I was also a transfer student. We have a lot in common. Okay, well, thank you all so much for sharing your experiences. We really, really appreciate hearing all your voices. So thank you so much.